Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gia Wilkerson, and I am with the Maryland Insurance Administration's Consumer Education and Advocacy Unit, and I will be a moderator for today's Lunch with Mia, Need Help Resources for Marylanders. As our agency conducts outreach across the state of Maryland, we are often asked about other resources that are available to assist Maryland consumers. Today, we have the pleasure of having with us representatives from 211 Maryland and 988 Maryland. 211 Maryland is the state's most comprehensive health and human services resource database. With over 7,500 resources, individuals with essential needs can get connected to local help 24/7, 365. 988 Maryland connects callers directly to the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, which encompasses all behavioral crisis services to include all mental health and substance use, problems with drug and alcohol use. Today's event will allow 211 Maryland and 988 Maryland to share their resources. Before we get started, in an effort to reach consumers about future events, we would like to do a quick poll just to see how we all got here this afternoon. If you are calling in, you may not be able to see the poll, and that is completely okay. And then for those of you that don't see the poll, you can also place in the chat just how you heard about today's event. So if everyone can take a few minutes to complete the poll, it would be greatly appreciated. Just a few more seconds.
Hello.
Okay. We're about 85% completed. Okay, so it looks like most of us got here by way of email or word of mouth from coworkers, websites, and flyers that were sent to your jobs. Thank you so much for participating with us today. To make sure that we continue to provide good quality and informative events, and to make sure that we are reaching a wide audience, we will also appreciate it that at the end of the event, if everyone could take a few minutes to complete our event survey, which will be placed in the chat. Before we get into the presentation, we do have a few housekeeping rules. This event is being recorded. Please leave your phones and computers on mute for the duration of this event. If you are not presenting, we ask that you also keep your camera off. If you have questions for today's speakers, please use the chat box and we will make sure your questions are sent. And make sure that your questions are sent to everyone and not just the speaker or host, and we will address your questions at the end. And now I would like to introduce to you today's speakers. We have Ms. Cherie Campbell, who will be answering questions about 211 Maryland, and Ms. Juanita Garrett, who will be answering questions about 988. Welcome, ladies.
Good morning.
Everyone. I hope all is well. Merry 2023.
All right, so the first question, what is 211?
So 211 is a vital service leveraged by millions of people across America. But for Maryland, people can contact it and access free and confidential services such as disaster assistance, food, healthcare, stable housing, utility payment assistance. We make sort of like we're like the social services ecosystem, and we make it more efficient by making sure people in need are connected to the agencies that can help them.
There has been a lot of advertisement around 988. How is that different from 211? Juanita, you want to answer?
Sure. So 988 is mostly for emotional support, crisis support, and suicide support, whereas 211 really provides resources. You can call 988 and receive a resource, but 211 is good for people who need support with like maybe assistance with baby formula, housing support, BG&E support. But if you're going through like an emotional crisis, maybe a divorce, you're feeling suicidal, you're feeling unstable, 988 would be the number you would dial for something like that.
And ladies, are both of these numbers available all over Maryland?
Yes.
988 is available throughout the entire state of Maryland. We have about 8 988 centers in Maryland, and 988 centers are really just staffed by local crisis centers. So it's available through the entire state.
So when should someone call 211 or when should someone call 988?
So someone should call 211 if they're looking for resources, such as energy bills, baby items, shelters, rental assistance. And they would call 988 for supportive counseling, mobile crisis teams, referrals to maybe outpatient behavioral health clinics. If you want to expound, Quinita.
Sure, that's correct. So you would call for any type of supportive counseling needed, or if you need like an outpatient resource to an outpatient mental health or substance use clinic. Some centers can dispatch mobile crisis teams, not every center. So you can call 988, and for some centers, you can receive a mobile crisis team referral as well. But mostly for emotional support or any type of crisis support, you would use 988.
Can a family member or a friend call 211 or 988 for someone else?
You can. We receive, sorry, Sherry.
Go ahead.
We receive a ton of calls from third parties, just seeking support for someone else or seeking advice, or we have people call in and say, I have a friend who's feeling suicidal. How can I support her? What should I do? So a third party caller can call in, whether it's a family member, a provider, a friend, you can call.
Can you ladies just explain a little bit more about what happens when someone actually calls either 211 or 988?
Sure. So when someone calls 988, they'll hear 3 options. One is if you're a veteran, press this number. If you're seeking LGBTQ plus support, press this number. And then I believe they have a Spanish line as well. And then they have a number that if you just need a local center, you press that. Once you dial, you'll have a counselor answer the call. They'll introduce themselves, and the call can really go either one of 2 ways. They'll introduce themselves and ask you what type of support you need. Some people may not know what type of support they need, so the counselor may just go over a few options with them, but the call is confidential. Counselors, they listen in a non-judgmental way, and they just try to troubleshoot and provide the best support they can. So we have had callers call in and say, this is my first time calling this line. I really don't know what to do. I'm scared. This is confidential. And the counselor will just talk with them through that entire process, just to ensure them that, it's a confidential service. We're here to support, and whatever type of support that caller is looking for, that will determine the direction of the call.
Sheree, did you have anything you wanted to add about 211?
I will just say that we do more than patch people through. For our call centers, they really try and get to the root cause of a problem and then try and connect them with that available resource that meets their needs, not just the one that may have prompted the call, text, and or email.
Ladies, can you tell us a little bit about the people answering the calls? What type of experience do they have?
It varies. Currently on our call center, we have a ton of people with lived experience. So they either have family members who have dealt with substance use or mental health issues, or they've dealt with that themselves, or they've dealt with suicidal thoughts in the past as well. As far as education and experience, it really varies. We had people with PhDs that answer the phone, down to people with a high school diploma and lived experience. So it really just varies.
Okay. Do you guys have bilingual staff?
Yes, we do. And we have something we call Language Line that has over 150 languages that we patch callers through to.
It's the same for 988.
And is this line also available for providers? I guess 988.
Providers do call the number. Like I said, some centers, they have the ability to dispatch mobile crisis. For our center, we can dispatch mobile crisis. So we do have providers call mostly for mobile crisis services, or mostly just for support. Most people want to know, can I give this number to my client? What's going to happen when they call? But we do have providers call 988 as well.
And how do you find the resources that you refer to people?
So we have people, we have about a little bit over 7,500 resources in our database. So people may contact us to add their information to the database. They may be alerted by a partner or other resource that a vital resource is available. And then we try to make sure that we get them in the system so other Marylanders can access it.
Can you explain how the process works to connect consumers to the appropriate services they are looking for? So I know you guys have over 7,500 resources. Like, how do you determine, I guess, which services will be most appropriate for them?
So for us, for 988, well, we don't have, we use a different resource database from 211. But for us, we do a screening when someone calls in to match them to a resource. So some people just may call in, they may know exactly what they want. But we either can connect them to, we're partnered with Healthcare Access Maryland. We can connect them to Healthcare Access Maryland, who can schedule an outpatient appointment for them, or we can do a referral to substance use programs. We can do the referrals to mobile crisis programs, or we can connect a caller directly to that program. It really just depends. Some people call in and say, I just want the resource. Can you just give me the number? We do that as well. If someone wants us to connect them directly to that resource, we can. And for some places, we can actually do referrals if we have that relationship with the place.
Do you do any type of follow-up on the callers?
Yes, we do a ton of follow-up. So anyone who calls in who is suicidal, if we've had to send emergency support to their home, if our mobile crisis team went out, we do follow up for them. And we do it within 24, 48, and 72 hours. We also have people who may need some additional support, and we do follow up for them. We ask people, do you want us to check in on you? Do you want us to follow up? If someone says yes, then we'll continue to do that follow-up. When we connect the call to Healthcare Access Maryland for the resource, they do the follow-up on their end to see if the person was actually connected to that outpatient resource.
Does 988 get law enforcement involved? And if so, at what point?
There are occasions when law enforcement has to get involved. That's the last resort for us, but there are individuals who call in who are not able to remain safe. So we do have people call in and they are actively suicidal. They may say, I have a gun in my hand and I'm going to shoot myself, and they are not willing to engage in any type of safety plan. Or we have people who have already attempted to kill themselves. We have to get law enforcement involved at that point. If someone is at risk in that moment, we will contact law enforcement if they're not able to remain safe.
Does 988 track callers? Like aside from the ones when you have to get law enforcement involved?
We don't necessarily track them. We do ask to collect demographics now. If someone doesn't want to share their information, then we're not going to require that. But we're not we document our calls in the database. Most of those calls are anonymous calls. But if someone opts in to give their information, we will have that on file, but we don't necessarily track it.
So is there ever a point when the calls are reported to 911 aside from, if someone has like a gun in their head or someone else's life is at risk? Or if you guys just feel like maybe a wellness check should be done?
So we do have third-party callers who call in, and they may say, I'm in a different state. I have someone in Maryland who's suicidal. we have no way of contacting that person, and they may feel that the person may be at risk, and we will request a wellness check. So we will do it for a case like that. Outside of someone being an immediate risk, we wouldn't necessarily contact 911. Outside of that, I'm trying to think of different scenarios, and I can't think of another reason to contact 911. Oh, for a duty to warn. Sometimes we have to do a duty to warn. If someone calls in and say, I plan to blow up the state building at this time day, we would have to call 911 to report that.
All right, before we get into the Q&A session, these were all the questions that were sent to us ahead of time. Is there any additional information that you would like for us to know about the services that each of your agency provides?
Sure. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. You want to go, Quinita, or you want me to go?
You can go.
I just want to kind of piggyback off of what Quinita was saying. Our call center staff, they conduct warm transfers over to most services or provide information and conduct those follow-up calls. We are a program that, we meet Maryland's needs in real time. We're a vital part of Maryland's information networks communities to fight the health and education and stability of every person in our community. I want to say that we also have a podcast where we invite various community partners and people who hold resources in our database to come and chat with us about what they're doing and how Marylanders can better be served. And that's about it for right now. Thank you.
I think you already said it. Just wanted to restate that the number it's a 24-hour service. So holidays, no matter what time you call, someone to answer that line. So I just want to just reinforce that, because some people think that, it's like a 9-to-5 service, but it's 24 hours. People can call at any time of the day.
Okay, thank you, ladies. So we have quite a few questions in the chat. The first one, I've been trying to sign up seniors with the Groceries to Go program to no avail. Any suggestions?
Groceries to Go. I don't have any suggestions for you right now, but if you send me your email, I can get back to you.
Can speakers of other languages get help at 988?
Yes, they can. We have some bilingual staff, depending on the language you're speaking. We also use a language line. So once someone calls, we just contact the language line, and then we connect and can provide services and support to the individual that's calling. And that support will change depending on, what state you're calling from. What state you're in, or what county you're in, but we can definitely provide services.
With the increase in mental health conditions, is there a long wait for individuals calling 988, or do they receive immediate support?
That's a good question. So it really depends it depends. I'll say it depends. There are times when someone may call a 988 and there may be a wait, because there has been an increase for the service. Then there are times when you can just connect directly through. So what I'll say for us is that normally when we have a high call volume is during those hours when agencies close. People no longer have that support they need. So between 3 and 5, there may be an increase in call volume, and a person may have to wait sometimes over 5 minutes. And that's just worst case scenario. But what we have been doing in Maryland is we've tried to staff up to try to match that call volume and invest in technology such as workforce management, just to better track call volume and have, a staff appropriately, because, we don't want people waiting 5 minutes to get in touch with a counselor.
Is 988 available for children to use?
Adolescents do call 988. Yes, actually, they have it posted in a lot of the schools now. When we have children call and we ask, how did you find out about it? It's posted in my school bathroom. It's posted in my counselor's office. So adolescents can use that number for support.
We also have another program, which is MD Young Minds, that children can text and get help with their mental health issues.
If a deer dropped dead on my property, this is a service via 211?
211 could connect you with maybe your local municipality that can help you with that issue.
Is this available to all residents regardless of immigration status?
Yes, anyone
Yeah.
can call. For 988 and 211, I believe anyone can call.
Mhm.
Are these services available to individuals, I guess, that are deaf?
Yes, the services are available. We have phone technology to assist, and we also have video conferencing we could use as well for ASL. So yes, the services is available.
How frequently are resources updated to ensure they are current?
We try and update as much as possible, but I believe they do something quarterly. Our database curators call different resources and try and make sure that it is up to date.
And are these resources accessible to Marylanders so that they are able to look up these resources themselves online?
Yes, you can go to 211md.org and look those resources up. You can also text or chat. There's a chat box as well, and you would just give them your zip code and they can dial down into whatever resource you were looking for.
Cherie, are you aware of any resources that are available in Prince George's County for rental assistance since ERAP ended?
I can get back to you on that if you send me a direct, I'm going to put my email in the chat so I can remember the questions.
Okay. How, how can a company give their contact information to be added as a resource?
You can go to 211md.org and you can click, I'm sorry, it's not, send me an email and I can send that over to you. Or if you give me a second, I can pop it in the chat.
And although people are able to go to the website to access the database, is there a listing of the resources or services that can be shared with the community or agencies trying to help people?
We don't have a paper resource if that's what you are asking.
For 988, I've heard that the call goes to your phone number, area code, geographical location, regardless of your actual location at the time of the call. Is this true? And how do callers make sure they get the help they need, get to the help they need?
Yes, this is true. So if you have a 410 number and you purchased it in Baltimore City, but now you're currently in New York City, that call will come to our Baltimore City call center. For most individuals, when that happens, they can receive support over the phone because mostly they may be seeking supportive counseling, which any call center can handle. If they need a resource in that area, we do a direct connection to that area, but only if a resource is needed. We provide any other support the call center that answers can really provide it.
What training does your staff go through? Do you recommend trainings for providers or crisis agencies?
So our staff, most 988 centers receive a ton of training. I think most people have to see, for us, they have to receive at least 80 hours of training before they can answer a call on this, including suicide prevention and intervention training, de-escalation, trauma-informed care, working with special populations. They do a ton of shadowing, just a ton of training. For outside agencies, I suggest training such as ASSIST training, mental health first aid, QPR, and I can add those trainings to the chat that can help train other agencies on how to work with individuals who may be experiencing suicidal behavior or a certain type of mental health crisis.
Where do you call for services for older adults or caregivers who need services with health insurance?
You can call 211 or you can call the MAP link line. If you give me a moment, I'll pop that in the chat as well.
Do you have specific resources for Medicare insurance holders?
I believe so. But I can get back to you on that.
Individuals, I'm not sure if this is a statement or a question, but individuals without health insurance will have access to the county services if they call 988.
So will they have access to services if they call 988? Yes, so calling 988 itself, that's free. So that service is fine. But it also depends on which center receives the 988 call. Like I said, 988 is staffed by local crisis centers. So that would really depend on what county you're being what county your call is being routed to. So if you're coming to Baltimore City, and let's say you need a mobile crisis team, that's a free service regardless of insurance status. But it also depends on the resource that's needed. If you need an outpatient clinic, that would be dependent on the outpatient clinic and what they would require. So it really just depends.
Cherie, how are the podcasts advertised to Marylanders, or where can we direct older patients, caregivers to view the podcast?
It's in the chat, but I believe that it is advertised on social media. That is our main source of advertising right now.
When persons call or email late evening and they have nowhere to go and they call 211, will they be assisted that evening with shelter?
It depends on their specific needs, and depending on their situation, but we will be there to answer the call and attempt to connect you with the appropriate resource.
I think this may be something that's under your umbrella of resources, but what utility discount services are available to low-income Marylanders?
I don't have the specific resources, but if you were to call, one of our call center specialists would be able to assist you.
And we already discussed that the language line is available when you call in.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Okay, someone asked me for information. For 988, how can providers get on your resource list?
We put that
So
in the
you would,
chat. Oh, sorry.
you're fine. So you would just contact 988 and ask to be put on their resource list. Again, that would depend on where you're being routed to. So if you're in Baltimore City and you dial 988, that would come to us and we would just put you on the resource list by request. If you need to be routed to a specific center, when you dial 988, you can let that counselor know that you're trying to reach maybe a 988 center in Montgomery County, and then they can do a direct transfer for you.
Someone suggested that if you have social media images for your services, if you could please share them.
I will. I'm guessing that everyone who registered today will be able to be sent something if we send it to you, right? Because you are hosting. And I will send you those PDF social media files right after this. I just wanted to double back for the health insurance questions. You are able to visit Maryland Health Connection for those needs. And there are some local numbers, and I can share that as well after this call.
Do you all have relationships with nonprofits? And are you able to connect Marylanders to local nonprofits with available resources in their communities?
For us, we do have relationships with some nonprofits, and we can do a direct connection to a few of those agencies. It just depends on which service the caller is requesting.
And if possible, could you place the text number for Maryland Young Mind in the chat box?
Yes.
And DJ Mitchell just wanted to mention that the dear question received an answer. It's actually 311. What medical, dental, food resources are available for people without an immigration status or for adult children?
There are many in our resource database. I don't know every resource off the top of my head though. But please give us a call and one of our call specialists will be able to help you.
What are the parenting programs 211 has partnered with?
The parenting programs.
Mhm.
We have a partnership with Kinship. You can text Kin Cares to 898-211, and that's our Kinship partnership. We have many other partnerships with different organizations throughout the state.
Are there emergency housing for families who have been suddenly displaced?
I am sure that there is. I don't know all of the resources that are available in the state of Maryland. Not every single one.
Does the phone number change for different areas of Maryland? I think we may have already discussed this one, but the 988 and 211 is standard. It's just based upon where you're calling from.
For 988 is based, right now for 988 is based off of your area code.
And in some of the call centers, depending on where you are, there may be a direct call-in number.
And then resources available for Marylanders who may need dental work but have no insurance or little money.
I believe that there are resources. Again, you would need to call in, give them your zip code, and they can direct you to the best resources for that situation.
Do you have a list of shelters?
We do, I believe 211 does as well.
I see that someone just put search.211md.org, so you can go ahead and search those things when you need to.
Do you know of any friendship lines for those just wanting to talk, vent, or receive emotional support that are not in a crisis?
There we have a program that is called MD Mind Health, and that sends encouraging messages, or it could be MD Health Check, excuse me. And that is a program that you would text the number that I put in the chat earlier, the 898-211 number, and you could sign up for that program. And our specialist will call you depending on when you sign up, and you would get calls and to speak through those issues that you may have. That's not an immediate crisis.
Okay. So we have several people asking to be added to the resource list or to receive your information today. Can residents call 211 if their living conditions, apartment complex are unsanitary?
Can they call 211 if, I'm sorry?
If their apartment complex is unsanitary?
They can. It depends on what it is that they want to do when they call. Are they just looking to report it? If they're looking to report it, that might be a different number or agency, but we could connect you with the appropriate resource to do that.
Is there a resource or program to help with home renovations for low-income households?
I believe that there is, and I saw a couple of them posted in the chat. Excuse me.
Okay, I'm trying to sort through. Let me see. Do you know the best resources for rat or mice infestation?
I personally do not.
Is there a grief counseling? I missed it. Hold on, ladies. Is there a grief counseling service for? I keep missing it.
Is there a grief counseling service?
Yes, it's towards the end, but as soon as I scroll up, it takes me back to another message.
It's for PG County,
I think that's
for
what it's
Georges County.
Yes.
I would direct you to call call our centers, call the 211 line, and they can help you with that resource.
Okay, I think we pretty much answered all of the questions that were in the chat. If there are any additional questions, please feel free to add them. Ladies, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
I don't have anything else right now. I just want to say by supporting us and our call centers, we can support companies and individuals by being part of solving the community problems and helping the individuals here in Maryland. I thank you for your time today, everyone, and your questions. And please reach out to me if you have any additional questions.
Q, before you say something, there is a question. Someone says they're on the website now and they are unable to find dental services.
Okay, what, can you send me an email? I'll put my email in the chat again.
Yes, ladies, can you both put your emails in the chat again, please? We have
No
quite a
problem.
few people that are requesting to be added to the resource list. I'm not exactly sure of the steps.
It's okay.
And Gia, people that are saying, please add me to the resource list without email addresses, again, I'm not sure what they're trying to be added to, but their best bet is to email Cherie or Quinita directly. Because there's
They
a
want to
lot
be
of
added
people,
to Cherie's list.
right? Yeah, because there's a lot of email addresses being put in here.
Yes, with no information. So I think that may be the best bet. Oh. Thank you. Oh, Q, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for having me. I always enjoy the opportunity to talk about 988. Really, it's a needed service, so I appreciate this opportunity. And if you have any other questions about 988 or the support that can be provided, just reach out to me. I placed my email address in the chat.
And
Thank you
Joyce, are we
again,
going to do the
Quinita. I
survey?
appreciate it. It's okay.
Joyce, are we going to do the survey?
Yes, give me 1 second.
If you guys think of anything else, you can add your questions really quickly. And then we are also going to ask if you could please do or complete our survey for today's event, please.
Those of you saying thank you, I just want to say you're welcome very much.
And speakers, when this is done, I will get a copy of the chat so I can send you guys both copies of the chat so that you have the text messages, the messages with the email addresses as well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And it looks like we have no further questions, but I would like to thank both of our speakers for your time today, all of our attendees for attending this great presentation and all of your wonderful questions. Please complete the survey for us. We hope that you will join us next week within the next 2 weeks for our next Lunch with Mia event on Wednesday, February 8th, as we discuss mental health and heart health. You can also find out more about our events on our website at www.insurance.maryland.gov.